Well, that Kyoso Giga video ain't coming out anytime soon. So about a month ago, a video essay by Rimbook titled The Commodification of the Magical Girl came out. And just recently, the video blew up on Twitter and not in a good light. Rimbook, who I'll be calling Taylor from now on, made an okay response, basically just no hate please, which, fine. It's fine. While she's posted short-form content online for a while now, this is her first ever video essay. Honestly, it reminds me somewhat of what I used to make when I started out 2 years ago, before I privated all that stuff and refined my skills. I myself have been posting media analysis online for 5 years. Now I'll say what criticism is unfair. There are a lot of comments just attacking her identity, calling her a tourist. I myself did want to make a video about how anime tourism ain't a real thing, so I do not agree with that criticism at all. They also attacked her media taste. They called her out for giving Turning Red 5 stars. As she should. Turning Red is peak fiction. In fact, I mentioned the anime Kyoso Giga earlier. That has a very similar ending to Turning Red. Like in Turning Red, Meilin beats up her mom, and same for Kyoso Giga. The youngest daughter and protagonist beats up her dad. They also have a theme of generational trauma. If you like Turning Red and Encanto, you like Kyoso Giga. Maybe it's just because it's niche, but I haven't seen the same chud opinions on Kyoso Giga that I've seen for Turning Red. Also, guess who called this video a fantastic analysis?
Shut up, bitch!
Anyways, my thesis is that Taylor is a solipsist. She has her own mind, her own politics, her own views, and does not take into account the politics and views of the creators who made these works. I myself am a leftist, democratic socialist if labels are your kink. Before I got permabanned from a subreddit I shall name, I would post drafts of my video essays there so I could get a lot of responses, because to me it was crucial for me to try and take in every viewpoint so my argument could be made stronger. Out of all the works Taylor cited, only one of them is by a Japanese person. I find that ironic because Taylor's video is about commodification, as in treating something like a material to be consumed. However, the magical girl genre, according to Kumiko Saito herself, was a commodity from the beginning. While Western concepts of genre may entice people to define the magical girl based on plots and settings, the most practical way to identify this category is primarily by its means of its business structure. Many of Japan's anime programs for children are founded on marketing that capitalizes on gender-divided sales of character merchandise and gadgets used by characters in television programs. It is best to consider Japanese magical girl anime as 25-minute advertisements for toy merchandise. Taylor also claims that magical girl shows were meant to show that being hyper-feminine was a strength, not a weakness. However, she doesn't take into account the socially constructed ideals of masculinity and femininity, and doesn't take into account how the magical girl may reinforce strict gender roles. Using Saito once again, while male superheroes like the Power Rangers transform to change their bodies into a weapon to serve a higher goal, the process of a girl hero's transformation is more a makeover than a power-up. From a Japanese feminist perspective, Saito Minako points out that children's television programs reinforce fixed gender roles functioning in actual society, thereby teaching girls to become a good daughter at home and a good OL at work. She argues that the female protagonist in the magical girl genre reconfirms the values of femininity, which teaches girls to envision marriage and domestic life as a desirable goal once they have passed the adolescent stage. Compared to female heroes who are cute juvenile girls, women in the enemy force are adult women wearing heavy makeup, obsessed with careerism. They are simply put, the women who have failed to become a wife or mother. The seemingly empowered girl heroes in anime covertly teach girls to pursue fashion, romance, and consumption until marriage, and once married to stay home as a good wife and mother. She claims that the magical girl was once aimed at girls but is now for the male gaze. Taylor clearly does not understand the concept of the gaze. I say the gaze because that was the original term. The gaze is a psychoanalysis of perception and being perceived and the power dynamics that form from that. So if you're a feminist, this is pretty easy to apply to feminist theory, the patriarchy. Has Taylor considered that the magical girl genre was created by men so girls could ask their parents to buy them toys? The magical girl presents girlhood from a male lens and would be internalized by female viewers. Internalization and acknowledgement that one is being perceived is crucial to the theory of the gaze. She says that the anime studios suddenly discover the men and women who identify themselves as otaku, selling suggestive figurines to them for profit. But they already profited off of selling fantasy to young girls, so is that really any different? She brings up Sailor Moon as an example of female empowerment. However, Sailor Moon contains what she describes as a male gaze, fragmented shots of the body, new transformations, and the creator Naoko Takeuchi herself has drawn by Taylor's standards sexualized artwork of her 14-year-old main character. Reverse image search also led me to an old post on Tumblr by a woman talking about this kind of moral panic. She claims that female empowerment doesn't provide the cash like sexualization does, but her examples of female empowerment are popular franchises that bring in cash by selling merch to little girls. The classic mascot who can be made into a marketable plushie that fully costs him to be sold as a commodity. She claims Creamy Mommy was meant as an innuendo, however her name is very blatantly explained in the show itself.
Huh? 名前あなたの。
ゆう。
You?
いえ、違います。
ってんだこいつ。
クリーミーマミです。
I don't think Japan in the early 1980s understood creamy as an innuendo the same way English speakers do. Same for like lollyrock. Also, Taylor does not realize that she herself has internalized the male gaze by trying to imply innuendo where there is none. Almost 2 years ago, I made a little rant titled Magical Girls Are Not for Men. I do forget some of the things I said, but otherwise, I think I made a good point. It was inspired by an actual PDF file, since that's what the kids are using these days, who said that little girls desire to be objectified by adult men because magical girl shows contain new transformations and slutty outfits. One of his examples was Witch. The new transformations are meant to represent purity and rebirth. The outfits are not inappropriate, just fashionable. No little girl watches these with the intention to be a slut or to seduce older men. The fact that Creamy Mommy includes a female protagonist makes Taylor desire to search for sexual themes where there are none because the female body is frequently sexualized by society. The idea that a girl could name herself after her parents' bakery and it just be that is a foreign concept. Taylor uses her internalized male gaze to inappropriately view these works, but doesn't take into account the actual male gaze posited by Kumiko and Minako Saito that were a part of the genre from the beginning. Taylor talks about how denying adulthood is rebelling against expectations against adult women in Japanese society, but can also lead to fetishization of girlhood, aka moe. I like a bit more of an expansion on that one, Tay. I would recommend Final Girl, Digital, and Cheyenne Lin, who do a better job at analyzing ageism in regards to women and girls. I must say, these adult selves these girls transform into are most often idealized and aspirational versions of an adult woman. She's gorgeous, attractive to men and women, talented, popular, powerful, rich. A lot like in the West, Barbie, who has been criticized as anti-feminist many times. The same goes for a lot of fashion dolls. This adulthood is suddenly forced on little girls who would have just started puberty. For most women, the time they become attractive to adult men was when they just hit puberty. So accepting themselves as little girls and rejecting adultification pushes back on the sexualization of little girls. That's an alternate viewpoint. Also, saving frames is just cost effective. It's been like this since the beginning of anime itself. Taylor tries to claim that women took back a genre that never belonged to them in the first place, as I explained, but also she implied that being feminine is a pushback against the patriarchy or something, because yes, the ideal of a woman pushed by men is a masculine rather than feminine one. How could we have been so blind, Taylor? Have you ever analyzed why traditionally feminine things make you feel so confident and powerful? You act like being a woman makes you free from the gaze, when a crucial aspect of that theory is the fact that being perceived impacts your own self-perception. I absolutely agree with the criticism that you're reinventing a binary and ignore that maybe you're using that gaze yourself. Also, merchandise. Come on. Commodification my ass, babe. She brings up Revolutionary Girl Utena, which had the nerve, according to her, to be created by AGP Ran rather than a pure and holy cis wimbin. Somehow Revolutionary Girl Utena ends up attracting the most reductive views and analyses despite honestly not even being that difficult to get. The source she linked is one of those. Which anime did this lady watch to think that sexual orientation was never a major topic of conversation? Being a lesbian was a huge part of Juri's character. The writer also mentions that Utena battles to liberate Anthe. Ain't doing the thing that gets her stabbed by Anthe in the first place. These duels play right into Akio's hand. Taylor says that Utena saved Anthe. Maybe she's just being short with her words, but Anthe slips out of Utena's hands, and Utena apologizes for pretending to be a prince. What Utena does is inspire Anthe to leave her abusive situation. Taylor also says that adulthood is portrayed as more desirable, and sure, whatever. I'll just leave my analysis of the car symbolism Utena to add to that. Also, she kind of neglects the deconstruction of gender roles and plays into them a bit. We don't have all day. I'll just make a few videos on Utena myself some of these days. Also, she claims that Utena and Anthe entering into a homosexual relationship is against the male gaze. Is she fucking with us? I think she's fucking with us. There's a reason why the biggest lesbian subreddit on the notorious sausage fest known as Reddit is a porn sub. The classic Madoka Magica changed the game forever, like Evangelion changed Mecha Forever's some. Also, Wonder Egg Priority is not a magical girl show, and the writer has exploited girls' trauma for a while, just in live action. I don't really think that Madoka Magica was a genre killer or anything. I think that Pretty Cure was just so popular that nothing could really compete. Going on analysts and filtering through the Mahou Shoujo genre, a lazy form of study, I know, just as a start, Kate. Madoka Magica came out in 2011. For all Mahou Shoujo that year that was not a sequel and as original or adapted from a manga, I found all of 2. It was Wish Upon the Pleiades and Balalaza. I am not attempting that name. Let's say it takes about 3 years for someone to create a concept, pitch it, get funding, and storyboard and animate a full show or whatever. 2014, 4 shows that aren't a sequel and or original or adapted from a manga. For 2015, 3. I'll fast forward to 2024. When it comes to original magical girl anime or ones adapted from a manga, 7. However, she's not a big fan of the whole seinen thing, so that leaves us with 4. Compare this to 1995, 3 years after the Sailor Moon anime came out, we had 5. Did Magica kill Maho Shoujo, or was there already a drought? She says that publishing a magical girl series makes it for the male or otaku gaze, just like the Princess Tutu manga adaptation, which is published in a shonen magazine. Oops! I think Miss Taylor here is ignoring one big concept dubbed by TV shows as the girl show ghetto. Essentially, media for males is seen as for the general audience, while media for girls is seen as niche. It's not because girly media is all just shit, as some dude bros egregiously claim, but because of sexism. The girl stuff that does leave the ghetto tend not to be all that different from other girly stuff in their genre, they just got lucky. The manga adaptations of the magical girl anime Little Witch Academia was published in a shonen magazine, shoujo magazine, and a seinen magazine. Something like Sayuki, which centers a male cast, would never be published in a josei magazine today, methinks. It's not always so simple. Kageki Shogo used to be published in a seinen magazine, but it was moved to a josei one, so it's a lot more complicated than just otaku gaze or whatever. Even labeling something for girls doesn't stop otaku from coming in. In the West, we have the brony.
Woman-based audiences have been known to critique and push back against seductive shoujo merchandise.
Really? I can find a lot of sexy Taylor Moon merch. I hope Taylor sees this video and takes my criticism into account going forward, if she wants to, I guess. I don't think her video essay was well researched at all. I'm not gonna virtue signal and say not to send hate. Feminist and leftist thought about fiction is cool, but videos like these ain't it. I don't like the attitude some people have when someone makes a bad video essay compared to like an essay. They act like the discourse is ruined forever. And these evil YouTubers will brainwash the sheeple into horrible opinions or something ridiculous like that. So I guess maybe I do condemn any harassment sent towards Taylor or any YouTuber. For an alternative to this video, I would suggest Don't Call Them Magical Girls by Karibu-kun. I have nothing else to say. Goodbye.